everyone to a new Sewing Thursday, and today we're going to just have a look at how to make a rouleau loop, and then next week I'm going to show you how to insert a rouleau loop into a little top like this which I've made. It's in crepe de chine, and I'm also going to then demonstrate how to work with crepe de chine on something as floaty as this. But today we're just going to make a rouleau loop. To make your rouleau loop, what you need is a bias strip, and you can watch that if you watch my video on bias binding. It's just a 45-degree angle so that it's nice and stretchy, otherwise it will not work. And then you need piping cord, and they come in different widths. Now you can get piping cord from your haberdashery shop, or you could do what I do, and I use curtain cord. It's much smoother, and I think it's easier to work with. I tend to use the really slim part for my rouleau loops, but if you wanted to make spaghetti straps, you want the slightly thicker one. So we're going to sew both of these in to see how they look. The idea is that your piping cord goes in the middle. You need to basically have the right side on the inside, and then it's cased in and stitched down here with your zipper foot. Ready to go? Let's make a rouleau loop. I have got here my beautiful cord. This is actually curtain cord, as I know, so I like that. I don't like the one you get in the shops, which are the piping cords. These ones are more sturdy, they are slicker, they don't get stuck. So what you do is, with the right sides up and facing, because we're going to turn this, you put your piping cord in the middle of your bias strip, and then you move it under your zipper foot. Important is that your needle is all the way or just a little bit off there. You don't want to catch this, but you do want to be really close. So you go backwards and forwards. You wiggle it in, and you make sure this really sits. Of course it doesn't when I want to do it for this. It's always the same, isn't it? It really sits in there, so I'm just going to go in like that. There we go. Now I've got it tucked in there. There, look. And now all I have to do is maybe grab it at the back. There we go. It's the same way you would make your piping. Basically, you're making piping, and then out of the piping, your loop. And you go all the way to the end, right? I'm just going to cut it off. And I'm going to cut it in the middle here, because this part we could use for an example of piping. So if I was going to use this for piping, I'd just cut it back. So we've got our centimeter seam allowance, or just under, right? And we're leaving the cord inside if we're making piping. If we're making a rouleau loop, we're grabbing the cord and we're pulling the cord out like this. Then we're cutting back. So we've got about, what, 3 millimeters standing. Don't cut so close to this stitch line so that you are actually ripping it. Don't want to do that, because this part here of your rouleau loop is actually going to sit inside and make it nice and round. The next step is you take this fantastic little rouleau loop turner, which has got a hook at the top which will hook into the fabric and pull it through, and you just go through like this all the way to the top, and then there's my hook there. I'm just going to push that in so it pierces through the fabric and then closes at the top. It's very important that this doesn't come back down as you pull over, and then bit by bit, with a lot of tension, you pull over your rouleau loop. and hook it. Always cut off the top part, maybe the end part, and there's a beautiful rouleau loop. And if you made it wider, you could use it for spaghetti straps, but for closure, the small one's best. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.